to Weekly World News on SpringNectar TV, brought to you by Vibha Ramesh, Los Angeles, United States. First, the top headlines. Bizarre incident on the sets of Hollywood. Germany's outgoing Chancellor at final summit. India not to commit to net zero goal. Modi introduces new health infrastructure project. COP26 deadlock to break, creating hope for poor nations. Facebook admits spread of misinformation. Moving on to news in detail. In a bizarre incident, popular Hollywood star Alec Baldwin unintentionally killed cinematographer Halyna Hutchins and wounded the director. The actor was known to have been rehearsing for a Western flick when he accidentally shot off of a prop firearm, which proved fatal to Halyna and wounded Joel D'Souza, the director. Little did he know that it was loaded. Halyna was immediately flown to the University of New Mexico hospital where she was pronounced dead. D'Souza was taken to the hospital where he is being treated. Baldwin was shocked and sad at the incident as he tweeted, "There are no words to convey my shock and sadness regarding the tragic accident that took the life of Halyna Hutchins, a wife, mother, and deeply admired colleague of ours. I'm fully cooperating with the police investigation to address how this tragedy occurred." And on Wednesday, officials found live bullets on the movie set. However, they have not made any decisions on criminal charges yet. Meanwhile, a $500 million military contract was signed by the Biden administration with Saudi Arabia. The contract, which stands contrary to the spirit of the White House's public policy, has raised concerns. One of the biggest first foreign policy objectives of the Biden administration was to ban all offensive weapons. According to critics, the new contract may trigger a humanitarian and strategic catastrophe. Moving on, Germany's outgoing Chancellor Angela Merkel attended her final summit in Brussels, where she addressed a wide range of issues. As Chancellor for 16 years, Merkel had attended nearly 110 European Union summits, but this one would be her final before retiring from position. Amongst other leaders who acclaimed her work and service, former US President Barack Obama had sent a video sharing his thoughts and gratitude. In the farewell video that came as a surprise, Obama had said, "Thanks to you, the center has held through many storms. So many people, girls and boys, men and women, have had a role model who they could look up to through challenging times. I know because I am one of them. Danke schön." Over to India now. With the COP26 summit right around the corner, countries from across the world are throwing in their share of commitment to address the climate crisis. India, too, has made certain commitments. However, the net zero goal by 2050 is not one of its commitments. That said, the nation is not against the net zero policy, but is not certain of the deadline of 2050 as being feasible. Said an official, "You cannot expect every country to go for the net zero goal by 2050 for the world to hit carbon neutrality by mid-century." Meanwhile, Prime Minister Narendra Modi launched a new project with the aim of filling crucial gaps in public health infrastructure in the country. To this effect, the $640 billion project, named as Prime Minister Ayushman Bharat Health Infrastructure Mission, was inaugurated on Monday. The current status of India's health sector as being weak and less feasible to the middle and poorer class was what prompted this initiative. In the words of Modi, as remarked at the launch, most of the areas had no hospitals. If hospitals did exist, they lacked the facilities for accurate diagnostic tests, surgery, and critical care. This led to crowding at big hospitals at major centers and made patients and their families struggle for facilities. He also added, "Considering these problems faced by the people, we are working round the clock to upgrade the facilities. The money, which was lost in scams, is now being utilized in development projects. We're developing infrastructure with a huge investment." And in France, President Emmanuel Macron made his first step towards a reconciliation process as he shared his thoughts with the Australian Prime Minister. To that end, he made it very clear that cancelling the submarine contract did indeed break the relationship trust between the two countries. He also asked Scott Morrison to recommend tangible actions to fix the diplomatic rift. The discussion that took place over phone also had Macron encourage Morrison to commit more ambitiously towards climate policy. Moving on, the new climate funding is expected to create a bridge between the developed and developing nations, thereby benefiting the poorer countries. To this end, the UK government, which is also the host of COP26, unravelled the proposals with ministers from Canada and Germany. The latter two countries were entrusted with the crucial task of charting out the plan for climate finance. Said Alok Sharma, UK Cabinet Minister and acting president of COP26, developed countries must deliver on the $100 billion a year promised to developing nations. This is a totemic figure, a matter of trust, and trust is a hard-won and fragile commodity in climate negotiations. However, sources from the UK government say that funding plan may get sidelined as Rishi Sunak, Chancellor of the Exchequer, plans for fresh cuts to the UK's aid budget. Further, with Russian President Vladimir Putin opting out of attending the summit, UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson had subtly revealed not to rely too much on the success of the summit. He also made it amply clear that recycling alone is not enough. In his words, as he said on Sunday at a question and answer session, "Recycling isn't the answer. I've got to be honest with you. You're not going to like this. It doesn't begin to address the problem. You can only recycle plastic a couple of times, really. What you've got to do is stop the production of plastic. Stop the first use of plastic. The recycling thing is a red herring. We've all got to cut down on our use of plastic," he said. Over to Sudan. In a triumphant military coup, leading politicians, including the Prime Minister, have been arrested, leading to the declaration of a state of emergency. The shocking incident prompted thousands of protesters to throng the streets in opposition. News has it that security forces intervened and opened fire to disperse the crowd. The firing took away the lives of over 3 protesters and wounded more than 80. The military coup was a counter-attack to the failed coup from last month. Justifying the usurping of power, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan stated, "The armed forces will continue completing the democratic transition until the handover of the country's leadership to a civilian-elected government." And news as of Tuesday had it that Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok was detained at the general's residence. He claimed that the move was intended for the safety of the Prime Minister. Moving on. In a latest revelation, popular social media giant Facebook owned up to the fact that their site has an innate tendency to spread discordant content and misinformation. The revelation was made after internal documents carrying proof of the same were disclosed on Monday by Francis Hogen, a former employee of Facebook. The documents disclosed reveal that Facebook's core product mechanics played a critical role in growing hate speech and spreading misinformation on the platform. An internal memo from 2019 had already warned Facebook about aiding the growth of hate speech on its site. It read, "We also have compelling evidence that our core product mechanics, such as vitality, recommendations, and optimizing for engagement, are a significant part of why these types of speech flourish on the platform." The whistleblower now calls for immediate external regulation to help minimize the harm being done to society. She said at a meeting with MPs, "I am deeply concerned that they have made a product that can lead people away from their real communities and isolate them in these rabbit holes and these filter bubbles. What you find is that when people are sent targeted misinformation to a community, it can make it hard to reintegrate into wider society because now you don't have shared facts. Until we bring in a counterweight, these things will be operated for the shareholders' interest and not the public interest," she said. Are you now ready for this week's Did You Know? Here we go. Did you know that a mailman built a castle in France? Yes, the world-renowned La Palais d'Al was built by Ferdinand Cheval around the end of the 19th century. He built a 33-foot-high castle by collecting rocks that he collected en route his mail deliveries over a period of 34 years. With little knowledge of architecture, Cheval took no help to erect the castle, which consisted of grottos, pillars, and flying buttresses. The castle entered the list of historic buildings in 1969 and was eventually bequeathed to the town by his granddaughter in 1984. That'll be all in this week's news bulletin. I'll see you again next Friday with more world news on Spring Nectar TV. Thank you.